Hello friends, and welcome to Bible study. We are in the NIV. We are in Galatians chapter 5 verses 1 through 12. This is a letter to the Galatian church, also known as Gauls and Celts, modern day Turkey area specifically, but Celtic and Gaul, which to me is usually French, all over the place. Everybody's just all intermixed. That area really had a lot of intermixing going on. People, thinking things were kept very separate, just not so much amongst most people in the world. So, because boundaries didn't really mean anything before there were countries. So, chapter 5, verse 1. Now, we're not sure if this is before the council decided the stuff we read in Acts, which is already, you can watch the whole chapter of Acts. There's videos for it. Just go get the Bible study playlist from this. There's also, or if this is just a reinforcement of that. So this is contested. Now, for us these days, we know you don't have to become Jewish to be Christian. But during this time, about 60-ish AD, if it's, 50 to 60 AD, if it's after Acts, or if this is the oldest Christian letter ever written, then this is, that's not for me to decide, biblical scholars argue that, then this would be closer to 50-ish AD. Okay, so at the start of the letter, we know that Paul has been doing this for 17 years, he says so. So that would support that it's after the Acts Council more to me. But that was back in the beginning. You can find that in the beginning of Galatians. Chapter 5, verse 1. This one's called Freedom in Christ. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery. You don't have to follow the Mosaic laws. That's been Paul's contention this whole time. You don't have to follow the Mosaic laws to be Christian. You are just Christian because you have faith in Jesus, because you believe that Jesus is the Messiah. He died and rose again on the third day in fulfillment with the scriptures. Okay, congratulations, you're a Christian. Now, whether or not you're at any particular denomination and you follow any of those religious rules, or you're just a Christian and maybe you're devout or not devout, doesn't matter. Because that is actually all it takes. And the premise there being is you don't have to follow all those Mosaic laws, which govern far more than just the 10 Commandments. It was every single part of your life. Because basically, God was raising children in the Old Testament, so he was literally telling them, hey, because he couldn't explain bacteria, but hey, you need to wash things. Right? I mean, literally. How often do you have to bathe? And he's like, every time you have any kind of secretion. Okay, so yeah, we know that, because we do that. You get sweaty, right? From a workout, you go take a shower. Well, that had to be taught to you. And that had to be taught to humanity. And there's some of that in the Old Testament is that. And some of that's supposed to stay and be second nature. And we're not supposed to have to think about it anymore. Because adults just know you have to do those things. We look at adults funny who don't know they have to do those things. Because we thought their parents taught them that. Well, we are God's children, so he was teaching us. Somebody had to be the one to teach the first grown-ups how to do things. Or what to do. Right? How to survive. Verse 2. Mark my words. I, Paul, tell you that if you let yourselves be circumcised, Christ will be of no value to you at all. Again, I declare every man who lets himself be circumcised, that he is obligated to obey the whole law. Like, if you're going to do this and want to believe you got to be Jewish to be Christian, then you got to follow the whole Mosaic law. All of it. If you're going to do it completely. Or don't do it at all. Is basically what he's saying. All in or not in at all. And now he's talking about grown adults to do this. He's not talking about people whose parents got them circumcised when they were babies. when they are talking about people who are introduced to Jesus as adults that weren't circumcised and have super apostles or people from the Jerusalem church coming through trying to say, no, 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 because the Messiah was Jewish and he followed Mosaic law, you have to follow Mosaic law. And what that does is brings it under a sect, makes it a sect of Judaism, which allows the Jewish temple, the Pharisees, that are ones that had Jesus executed in the first place, now in compliance with the law, because this is what was meant to happen, so not throwing shade, I am also genetically Jewish. But as the circumstances happened, those people with those motivations, those same people with the same motivations that were chasing down Paul, trying to get him killed for blasphemy, because that was allowable at their time in that church, well, that temple, by the Roman overseers. So certain things were permissible and other things weren't in the name of their religion. So it meant they got to control the Christian church, which Paul is saying, absolutely not. You don't have to do any of those things. He's like actually essentially telling people in the area, and this is very inflammatory for its time, because he's essentially, if you remove the words Mosaic law, because I heard a pastor do this yesterday when we were talking about about the chapters in Galatians, and replaced it with the word Bible, and then think about your emotional reaction. The Messiah has come, so you no longer need the Bible. Because the Bible didn't exist then. So he's suggesting they get rid of the only religious text that they have, that they no longer have to follow, because of the words of Jesus. Because the Bible wouldn't be completed for quite some time. This is way early in the church. I mean, the apostles are still alive, at least some of them. Again, I declare that every man who lets himself be circumcised, that he is obligated to obey the whole law. You who are trying to be justified by law, which is already contended cannot be, you have alienated, by law, have been alienated from Christ. You're no longer under the death of Christ as your saving, because you're trying to make something man-made and empirical be the thing that saves you instead of your faith. You have fallen away from grace because you're no longer seeking it, because you can only be in grace while you seek grace. But by faith, we eagerly await through the Spirit of righteousness for which we hope. For in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any value. So that's why I said it's not applying to people who, like, your parents circumcised you while you were a baby, or the hospital did, or any, because he's not talking about that. He's not even talking about that choice. If the circumcision in the hospital has nothing to do with faith, but has everything to do with doctors' recommendations or your own particular beliefs about hygiene, or whatever your motivations are. I don't have children, so this is not a decision I will ever have to make for someone. So whatever those choices are, then it doesn't matter. It has no bearing. It's not going to keep you out of heaven. It's just not also going to get you into heaven, is what he's saying. The only thing that counts is faith, expressing itself through love. The only thing that counts is how you show Jesus that you love other people. And by that, I mean the most basic form of love, because compassion is the most basic form of love that we offer. It's like, think of it as generic love. We offer it to every, insect that we don't want to step on. Every pet that pet, right? Every human that we're nice to. Every time we're respectful to anyone and everything around us. We are expressing our faith through love, which is really what he's asking us for. Verse 7, in my opinion anyway. Verse 7, you were running a good race. Who cut in on you and kept you from obeying the truth. Like, who gave you this nonsense? That kind of persuasion does not come from the one who calls you. A little yeast works through the whole batch of dough, and that is in quotation marks. It doesn't have a footnote, but that usually means he's quoting somebody else. I don't know if it's another, apostle, or if it's because there's no footnote there. I am confident in the Lord that you will take no other view. Sorry, I got momentarily put off there. The one who is throwing you into confusion will pay the penalty, whoever he may be. So God will forgive you for this transgression if you, just because he forgives you anyway, but especially if you stop having that belief system, and you can see that you do not have to engage in any of those things. God has already forgiven you. As soon as you understand that again, and you act as if, then, okay, that's it. That's all it takes. Once you change your behavior, you've done everything you need to do to show God anything. And that's really between you and God. He forgives you as soon as you're in your heart ready to say that you're sorry. Just not doing whatever it was you were sorry about in person. It's like in the 3D, it's kind of how you show him and anybody else that you're sorry. Because if you're going to keep doing what you apologize for, then you're not really sorry. You can't actually be sorry, because you stop it. You wouldn't want to continue to hurt that person the same way over and over again. Then it's just lip service, and God knows the difference. That's how you act is how he knows the difference. Verse 11, brothers, if I am still preaching circumcision, why am I still being persecuted? In that case, the offense of the cross has been abolished. As for those agitators, I wish they would go the whole way and emasculate themselves. Wow. That's with an exclamation point. I didn't say that. There's a lot of different ways you could take that, and I'm going to leave that in Paul's words all by himself. If you decide as you're walking this path of faith that, you don't want to believe that you can just be forgiven by not acting crappy, and you think you need to do more things, then you can go do those more things. He's just saying you don't have to. So just try to be the best version of you today, okay?